Hello, Lisa Jane here from Yummy Mummy Podcast, and today's episode, number 20, such a milestone. Very excited. Welcome. We are going to talk about cavities. My little girl has 2 cavities. Can you believe it? Lisa Jane, the whole food plant-based lifestyler, has a child with cavities. Well, I didn't just wake up one morning and become a plant-based person. And my daughter wasn't born into it. She only just started eating this way with me a couple of years ago. So the cavities that are happening are symptoms telling us something's going on within her body, and the damage had already been done years ago. So here's my little story. And this may resonate with you, and if it does, give us a thumbs up, write a comment. I'd love to connect with those that have gone through this, either themselves, with a family member, or friends. So we're going years ago. So when she was about 3 years old, I went and saw a naturopath because my little girl had quite an enlarged tummy. And what had happened was she wasn't absorbing her minerals and vitamins. She was malnourished. And her tummy was so bloated because she had a lot of parasites living in there, more than the average. I mean, we all have them, but hers had helped blow out this tummy. When we saw the naturopath, not only did we have to cleanse out the parasites, which was part of it, the process of getting her to start absorbing her minerals and nutrients, we found out that she was gluten intolerant, soy intolerant, and dairy intolerant. And that is where the journey began for me in becoming whole food plant-based. I always like to be healthy beforehand because I'm a holistic beauty and skin therapist, but becoming more a lifestyler, it's not just about what we eat, it's also about when we eat our food. Very important. So with my little girl, where her tooth is having the decay, it's all connected to her stomach organ. And as you all are aware, I'm studying circadian medicine. So I'm studying our rhythm of the day, of when we should be going to bed, what time to wake up. And so I blog about this on Facebook and Instagram. Just go to Yummy Mummy Podcast. And I also talk about the types of foods that we should be eating to help with our mind, body, and spirit. So for me, when I found out that she had these cavities, it was because she started to get really sore. Her gum was hurting one night. She couldn't sleep. And we made an appointment with the dentist, an emergency appointment. We got in very quickly. And my dentist, which I've had for 30 odd years, right when he came out of dentistry school, I was one of the first. And I had a pretty bad cavity at the same age, and he tried to save it so many times, just didn't know how to. And in the end, I just said to him, pull it out. And it was one of my baby teeth anyway, so it worked out fine. So for my little girl, the same thing is happening. Not the same tooth though, different tooth. She's got hers on the bottom, mine was on the top, on the other side. And so for her, straight away, I started doing all my studies, and then I found the holistic tooth fairy. And this is why I have my butterfly wings on today, because this is a child-friendly podcast. I'd love for you to be able to play this in the car after you've picked up your kids from school, or maybe in the morning when they're a little bit more quiet and they're listening more attentively, and it will help them to understand how to take care of themselves, how to take care of their teeth, what kind of foods to be eating, and all the other beautiful educational topics we're going to bring up in this discussion. So today we have Meliors Simms. She is the holistic tooth fairy. About 7 years ago, she had 6 root canals. And she was about to go on to her 7th, and that's when she woke up and said, no more. This can't be happening anymore. I need to find another solution. And I'm really glad, and a lot of her followers and viewers, they're so happy as well, because she's able to help them too now. So she found a way, all different kinds of natural ways to help keep your teeth healthy. So I'm going to be getting her on soon, and I really hope you enjoy this podcast. Welcome to Yummy Mummy Podcast, a health and well-being show inspiring you to bring out your best self and live a delicious life. Meliors, thank you so much for joining me today on Yummy Mummy Podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I first saw you through a friend of mine who told me about you, and I love the name, the Holistic Tooth Fairy. And I've got my wings on today.
I know. I feel I should have worn my fairy wings. We could have been matched.
I wanted to make this podcast child friendly so that it would be great for our parents that are listening. They can play it while they're driving to school or on the way home, maybe on the way to the dentist, because today we're talking about cavities.
Yes,
and
we are.
When we think of cavities, straight away we do think of when we're kids, because our first cavity forms when we're children. And I remember myself having a couple of cavities when I was young. I actually had to have a tooth removed when that happened. And then years on, I got fillings done. And I haven't had anything since my teens and even my 20s. And I think it all comes down to our lifestyle. So all my viewers know I live a plant-based lifestyle now, not when I was younger. However, I used to express my stresses out verbally, socially, and I find that when we keep a lot of the stuff in, we can actually be causing problems, and our teeth are a way that expresses. Now, just for one moment, you've got a beam of light shining on you like you're from the heavens above.
Hold on a sec. I can see it's like a halo. Is that better?
Yeah, you're definitely
Sorry about that.
fairy.
It's my magical powers right there.
So tell us a little bit about your story. What got you into helping people with their gums and teeth health?
Well, I always had really terrible teeth. So starting from when I was 17, when I had my first root canal, I pretty much had constant toothache, lots of cavities and fillings, 6 root canals over the space of like 30 years. Crowns, extractions, all sorts of problems. And this was despite doing everything the dentist told me. So I was vigilant with my brushing. I flossed like a boss. I went to the dentist every 6 months. I, was really following all that mainstream advice, and still my teeth were just constantly, chronically, my biggest area of physical weakness. And as you said before, it wasn't until about 7 years ago that it occurred to me to start looking for an alternative approach, and that was because I was told what would have been my 7th root canal. I was going to need that, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. I can't keep on just getting all my teeth like hollowed out. I'll have nothing left. And so I came across a diet called the Cured Tooth Decay diet, and I started trying out some of the most simple and accessible parts of that for me. And within 2 weeks, I had turned around that root canal so much that I didn't need it. Very quickly, I stopped having sensitivity and pain in my teeth. I haven't had a major cavity since then, or any major dental work. And it was such a miracle. It was such a contrast to what had come before, that I threw myself into learning everything I could about natural oral health. And people started asking me for advice, because my friends and family knew that I was doing this. And I got asked to write an article for a magazine. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to write an article, then I better have somewhere for people who read it who might be interested in learning more, like a website or something for them to go to. And that is how I sort of came up with the idea of the Holistic Tooth Fairy. It was very much from other people asking me, because this information isn't easy to find. It's a little bit easier nowadays, but 7 years ago there wasn't much on the internet at all. And the particular way that I've synthesized the information that I found is really unique. There's no one else who really has the same combination of elements that I put together in the way that I do it. And so I wanted to share that with lots of people, and I've been the Holistic Tooth Fairy for 2.5 years. I've helped hundreds of people. I work online on Zoom like this, helping people with all over the world, all ages. I work with lots of families with young children and babies, as well as older people. That's my story.
It's great work that you do. It takes for us to get to that turning point, something to happen within ourselves to know what our calling is. And you've found that now, and you're going to keep working with that and helping other people. And now we're going to help my daughter. As I explained in the introduction today, she's got a couple of cavities that I don't want them to be just filled in. They're baby teeth, and one of them is moving, about to pop out. And I'm using natural holistic modalities. But today I wanted to understand more about, first of all, why do we create these cavities? Like, what is it that is happening? And ways to prevent it. But we'll start with the beginning of it. What is a cavity? Is it just a hole in a tooth?
So cavities can develop for different reasons. So everyone's oral health is kind of the result of a unique combination of influences. What I call proximate causes are sort of on the surface, superficial causes, and the deeper underlying root causes. And so it's hard to make a generalization, but diet plays a big role. And the way that works is that our teeth are living organisms. They are not these kind of inert lumps of rock in our mouth, but they are pumping with blood and energy, life force, and they're constantly regenerating. In a healthy body, teeth are always remineralizing the enamel. There's a steady flow. And when there's some problem in our health or our diet, that flow gets inhibited or interrupted, and that's when we're more vulnerable to cavities developing. So whether that's stress, or it's a dietary malnourishment, or it's a genetic vulnerability, or often like teeth grinding can play a real role. And you see that at all ages, but particularly if children are grinding their teeth, that can be a real risk to the health of their teeth. So
I think that's what is happening, or was happening, actually. Not anymore, because I don't hear it happening when we have our hangouts together. But I have looked at her teeth when I now are cleaning out that little hole that she has, and I get a toothpick and clean it out. It did occur to me that the tops of her teeth are quite flat. They look like they've her baby teeth. So there was a lot of stress, and I am telling my story more and more as I'm creating these podcasts, that there was domestic violence in my marriage. And so I'm certain the stress from that, hearing mum and dad fighting, even though we think she's asleep, but she could have been doing this from the age of 2 years old, when she had all her teeth coming through, 3 years old. So that sort of threw me off a little bit, but I want to prevent seeing the dentist. I don't want to be in scarcity and go and then find out the dentist just says, oh, it's just, they're baby teeth, Lisa, don't stress about it. And then I'm left with paying another big bill at the end of it, taking her out of school as well. So I don't want to be doing that. So that's why I called you here to create some awareness for us parents, and also for people who aren't parents, for themselves as well, to know how to take care of their teeth.
So just going back to the grinding, another possible cause, very common in young children who grind, is parasites. So has that ever been an issue for her? Do you know?
Yeah, I said that. We had to clean her gut right out because she was malnourished, big tummy. So we saw
that's right. That's probably why she was grinding. And that flat surface you can see on the teeth, that's definitely, she ground down the surface. So
explain that to us. What does that mean when you have lots of because we all have parasites, but you're talking about when there's an abundant, like a lot of them.
When there's abundance of the particular parasites, and I don't remember the scientific names, but one of the things that I get parents to check when they come to me with teeth problems where there's grinding involved is at least go and get tested for parasites and eliminate that possibility, or if there is parasites, clean them out. Because if we're trying to heal your teeth naturally and the child is continuing to grind and they've got parasites and their digestion is compromised, it's like fighting an uphill battle. So you've got to kind of clear the decks, so to speak, to
Yeah,
be
oh,
able
we did that. Oh, we cleared it right. But we
to
also found out that
yeah,
she is dairy intolerant. That made so much sense. It really did, because we had issues from the start when we put her onto formula and cow's milk, goat's milk, all kinds of milk. Once I stopped breastfeeding when she was 1, I was trying, and I noticed that it wasn't working for her. And then gluten intolerant was the other big one as well. So,
right.
yeah, so definitely her little body hasn't been able to function properly until now. And so
Yeah,
we're at a stage where we want to, regenerate, remineralize, as you're saying, remineralize, that's the word, and
yeah,
prevent any more problems in the future.
yeah.
But that's
Mm-hmm.
great about the parasites and the grinding. There's that link together, and a naturopath would be probably the person to see to help
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
flush that out. Yeah.
Okay, so once you've sort of eliminated that as a possibility, then what I do is look at the 4 pillars of what I call the holistic tooth fairy. So there's 4 main elements of my holistic approach to healing cavities. That's looking at nutrition, looking at breathing and jaw tension, which is grinding comes into that. But breathing's a really common issue. If children aren't nose breathing, if they're sleeping with their mouth open or they're in the habit of mouth breathing during the day, that can be a big influence on what's going on with their teeth and inhibit our ability to heal them. So we look at that. Oral hygiene, of course, everyone knows about brushing and cleaning. So, but we look at the particular details of the habits and really making sure that your oral hygiene routine is supporting the healing and not undermining it. And then what I call the metaphysical, and that's all the non-physical possible influences on oral health. And with children, that can often be things like stress, family trauma, family secrets, where there's domestic violence. That's really a kind of obvious link. But sometimes it might not even be in the child's own lifetime. It might be a family pattern that they've inherited, the story that's been embodied in their teeth, and that's a vulnerability for them, but it's actually like a grandfather or a great aunt or someone else's story that is somehow energetically influencing their oral health. So we look at that big, broad, complex area of emotional, spiritual, energetic, psychological aspects.
Yeah, I get that. I totally agree with everything like that, because it's got to also do with your organs as well. Taking on other diseases and illnesses from birth. When people ask me, "Oh, why can you explain why a little baby has such a chronic disease when they only were born?" Well, they've genetically it's oh, now I'm starting to talk a little bit more spiritual. In a way, we've chosen that path before we come here. So we do take on our past lives or our parents' stresses in the DNA through genetically and pick them up. And that's why I try to explain people to that. But it's very hard to grasp that because we haven't been educated about quantum physics, like metaphysics. Google's fantastic for that. A lot of people have written lots of articles, so find one. My suggestion is find someone that you actually understand the way they explain it, because it is a tricky one to get your head around to understand about stresses and things like that we take on from a child from birth.
Yeah. And often the clue is in which tooth has the problem, because each tooth relates to a meridian, and meridians are associated with particular emotions as well as with organs and glands. And you can start kind of following it's like being a detective, following the clues to figure out. And that's one of the things that I do with my clients is an intuitive reading of their teeth situation to understand what those metaphysical stories are, because that shows us where we need to focus the healing on that level. But that is in the context of doing the physical healing as well. So we're always looking at with diet, at anatomy, with the breathing and the jaw, and at oral hygiene. So, and I do like to start with nutrition, and I know that's what you're particularly interested in.
This is my thing, yeah. What to eat, and then the side note to is when to eat it. So when you're talking about the meridians, as we've already discussed, my daughter's tooth is right at the stomach meridian. It connects with the stomach organ, and when we're following traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurveda, around that stomach time is between 7 and 9, which is our breakfast time. And I put my hand up to being a naughty mummy by putting her, straight into the car to drive to daycare, and giving breakfast there after the time that she's meant to be having breakfast. So lots of rushing. And I know with that time frame as well, a lot of people that have a lot of stomach concerns, they're always on the go, rushing, eating in the car or taking their breakfast banana on the train to go to work. They're not sitting and enjoying. So we have changed a lot of that over the last year or two to sit. And we kick and scream sometimes because that's not how I was as a child. I was always on the go as well. So there's habits that I'm changing so that we can be a lot healthier. But there is a great diagram you can find. You've actually uploaded some as well that people can find. But I think it's great that, if they can organise a time with you to do a one-on-one, you'll be able to get to the root cause of what's going on with their cavities.
Yeah, because like I said before, everyone's different. So the particular tooth is a clue into what the unique influences are. But there are some commonalities, like teeth always need minerals, particularly calcium in the right balance, phosphorus, magnesium, zinc. Those are all really important minerals to have in the diet, and to make sure that your digestive system is able to absorb and utilize those minerals in a way that our teeth access. Because it's not just eating the food, it's being able to access minerals out of the food that matters. So
creating a really strong digestive system is something that I'm always talking about. And like you said about the parasites, we need to eliminate as many as we can, and then start looking at the foods that we're already eating and seeing, okay, what is it that is stopping my body from absorbing minerals and vitamins? Because if you add them in, you start eating more veggies, more fruits, you might be on a diet that is high in phytic acids. And I'd like to talk about this one next, because this is something that's becoming very popular. People are starting to actually understand that phytic acids block minerals and vitamins. Is that right? Is that what happens?
So what happens is that phytic acid, which is found in grains, nuts, seeds, and beans, it is an anti-nutrient that nature has put into those particular foods to make them difficult to digest, so that the seed will stay intact through your digestive system, and you'll poop it out and it'll be able to germinate and become a new plant. That's why it's in there. But what it does is bind to phosphorus in our gut. And in order for calcium to be absorbed into our teeth and bones, it has to be paired up with phosphorus. So if the phosphorus in your diet is all bound up with phytic acid, not being properly digested in your gut, then calcium's just kind of roaming around your body, not knowing how to get where it's going, where it's supposed to go. And it does stupid things like calcify in joints or around your heart or whatever, instead of going into your teeth and bones to make them stronger in partnership with phosphorus. So the phytic acid, particularly if it's a big part of your diet, can really be a major contributor to cavities and decay.
Yes, no, I definitely was told over about a decade ago, don't eat your nuts with your fruit, Lisa. Keep them separate to each other. And I really didn't understand. I just said, yes, okay, I'll do what you're saying. I never questioned it. And now I'm like, oh, I understand it now. So when I pack my daughter's lunchbox, she loves having her protein balls, which are filled with beautiful nuts. And then she has her apple sitting next to it. And I just hope she eat, because she loves to have her fruits morning tea, and then she has her protein balls after school. When I come to pick her up, she likes to have them. But I don't know, kids are cheeky. These are yummy sweet protein balls. I reckon she's having them at morning tea. But yeah, I've got to have that trust and faith in her. But I do try and explain to her very much to make sure she's having them separate. So is there an exact time frame of having, your nuts and your grains separate from highly nutrient foods like fruits?
Yeah, rather than trying to really control them into separate times of day, what I encourage you to do is make sure that the nuts and seeds and grains and beans are activated. So that can mean soaking, sprouting, pressure cooking. So like an instant pot is a good way to reduce the phytic acid content, and fermenting. And that will really reduce the phytic acid in most of those types of food. And then it doesn't matter so much whether it's separate or not. Yeah.
Well, that's lovely to know. Yeah, I am really good at soaking everything and rewashing everything. So great, I feel better now. So go ahead, eat it all. But for those that are starting out new and you are purchasing over-the-counter protein balls, maybe have a look to see if it says activated. And if you're making them yourself, it's just as easy as soaking them overnight. Or even, is 1 hour enough to soak these nuts and grains? And
well, it depends. So each different type has a different kind of soaking requirement. So I actually, somewhere on my website, have a kind of table that lays all that information out. So I'll find the link for you.
That'd be great.
So no hard and fast rule, and not, like oats are really hard to get the phytic acid out of. So I actually recommend anyone who's got an issue with cavities or decay, take a break from eating oats altogether, because they are so hard to activate properly. And soy is the other product that's very hard to get the phytic acid out. Good news is macadamia nuts have they have no phytic acid, and hemp seeds have next to no phytic acid. So free reign with those.
Oh, that's fantastic. She loves to have a mouthful when I'm putting it on salad. She said, Mum, just give me the whole thing with a spoon. Yeah, sure. I will do that next time. So now let's talk about calcium, because we all know calcium is super, super duper important. Where do we find calcium when living on a plant-based diet?
So calcium dense foods, dark leafy greens is probably the easiest place to get a good dose. And it's important that your dark leafy greens are as fresh as possible, because the longer they've been sitting around, that mineral content drops. So homegrown is best, farmers markets, but if something's sitting in your supermarket that's been shipped from the other side of the country and is, it's been a week or more since it's picked, that's not going to have that much nutrient density to it. Organic foods, particularly biodynamic foods, where they've really been enriching the soil with natural fertilizers as opposed to chemical fertilizers, will have a higher mineral content in it.
Great. So reel off some of these leafy green vegetables.
Kale and broccoli and cabbage and bok choy and what else?
Silver beet.
Silver beet, yes. Swiss chard, sorrel. What else?
What about
collards?
Olive leaves that we make our dolmadas out of?
Great. Oh, the grape.
Not olive leaves. God, how Mediterranean am I today? I'm not today. I bought some. I might go return them now because they're pre-packaged, and I'm not eating
Oh,
that. It was in the jar, and it just
yeah.
reminded me of my days when I was little. We used to get them fresh, but sometimes my mum would get them from the glass jar, and I saw them there, and Indy was just like, "Let's grab them now. I want to make them when we get home." But I might go out looking for some grape leaves because it would be better, like you said, if they're natural from the garden.
Well, okay, so the thing about grape leaves is that when you're buying them pre-packaged, they've been fermented a little bit to break them down. And fermenting is such a good part of the diet that helps you to extract more minerals and nutrients out of your food. So that's a positive thing you can do to
Okay.
add to the diet, is something fermented at every meal will help you to get more nutrients. So that could be sauerkraut, kimchi, pickles, olives, coconut yogurt. There's a fermented food called natto, a Japanese soybean ferment, that has got the highest source of vitamin K2 of any plant food. And vitamin K2 is one of the essential nutrients for your teeth and gums.
Yeah,
So if you can find
that's a problem for us because little miss is actually intolerant to soy.
okay.
Yeah.
The other plant-based source of vitamin K2 is milk kefir that's been made with coconut milk, but it's using the milk kefir grains, not the water kefir grains. Got a whole blog post about that one as well. And that's really important because vitamin K2 is not actually found in any other plant-based foods. You get K1, but that's not the same as K2, and it's K2 that your teeth need. So that coconut milk kefir and the natto, if you're on a plant-based diet, I would really recommend, if you can at all tolerate either of those, making sure that you're getting some of that as often as possible every day if you can.
Yeah, definitely. How would I have that? What is it? Is it like, what's the consistency of it?
The kefir, it's sort of like a runny yogurt. It tastes a lot like yogurt.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Would I mix
natto
it in with?
You can mix it in like with a smoothie. You can drink it straight. You can mix it with fruit. Yeah.
Okay, I will have to blog about and do like a little live video because I'm not a yogurt person. I don't like the flavor, never have.
Okay.
And so this will be fun for me. Everyone watch me probably give that kind of look, but I might love it now. My taste buds may have changed ever since I've eliminated a lot of other foods out of my diet.
That's right. And it's not exactly the same as yogurt. It's just, it's a little bit tangy. It's got that kind of tangy quality to it.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
yeah.
All right.
Give it a go. Yeah.
Yeah, I will give it a go. I'm always trying new things that are going to help because you're right. I don't have that vitamin in my system that I'm having. Yeah, and I'm quite surprised since I have become plant-based. People have looked at me, oh my God, you're still alive. I'm like, I know, I'm still alive. I'm still doing really well, even though I am missing some of these vitamins. Yeah, but I don't want to go forever without them. So I'm going to look into
That's right, because what's happening is when you go plant-based, those essential vitamins that aren't found in plants, you've got a store of them in your body, and a lot of them are actually stored in your teeth. And so your body's going to draw down on that mineral store. And if you don't eventually find a way to replenish that store, then the teeth will eventually weaken. And some people, depending on how resilient they are, they can go 10, 20, 30 years on a plant-based diet with no real problems. But eventually, most people will reach a point where they have to do something to fill that nutritional gap once the storehouse of their body has been depleted. And so, yeah, that's where these plant-based sources of these foods that are mostly found in animal products, or nutrients rather, found in animal products, is so important. And I've made it a point to look those out, even though I'm not plant-based myself. So many of my clients are. I want to make sure that we're able to fill that gap for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It gets me thinking now about all these fruitarians, because I do it
Mm.
during after school holidays in term one. We eat fruit for one meal out of the day, and now I'm thinking about a lot of my friends that only eat fruits, and some of them are fine with their teeth, and others are questioning why is my enamel going? And a lot of the times I've heard because they're great. They're, what do you call it? Great when you eat all day long.
Phrases.
They're
Yeah.
grazing all day. I had it in my house. I was going to say graving. That doesn't make sense. So they're
Yeah.
grazing all day long, not giving their mouth a chance to have a break.
Mm.
So where do people get those particular vitamins if they're just eating fruit all the time? Because some are doing it for years and they're completely fine.
Well, they're not getting the vitamins, so they're drawing down on the store that they would have gotten earlier in their life, or they're really resilient. Like, as I said at the beginning, everyone's different. So some people come in with like this kind of genetic resilience that means that they can have the worst diet and that they can eat Coca-Cola and KFC 100% forever and their teeth will never suffer. But the people like me that I see mostly who do have bad teeth, we don't have that level of resilience. And many of us, even when we're on a really good diet, still struggle to keep our teeth healthy. Everyone's different. There's no one size fits all rule. And the best guide to what your body needs is your body, not a particular ideology or a plan that you've adopted because maybe you philosophically agree with it. If your body is telling you this isn't right because the enamel's wasting off your teeth or you're getting sick or you're really fatigued, then I think you need to pay attention to the information from your body.
Mm.
Yeah, that's where I
Yeah,
come from.
that's
This,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, and the symptoms come through the teeth, and that's where you start from, and then work your way down to the root cause.
Yeah, well, yeah. So some people's teeth are their point of vulnerability. That's it for me. Like when I'm stressed, it's the first thing my teeth will start to get sensitive. I'll see my gums kind of flaring up. Um, Other people, they'll have gut problems or they'll have skin problems or they'll get asthma or headaches. We've all got a different area that's like our weak spot.
Mm.
But for me, it's my teeth, and the people who come to see me are generally the people that's their weak spot. So that's the door in to understanding what's going on with your body. And it's a bigger picture once you open that door because it connects to everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
To breathing, to nutrition, to tension, to family history, to your own sense of life purpose and relationships. All of that is through that doorway that the teeth are showing you. Yeah.
And is there something that our listeners can log into to learn more about these techniques and help themselves
Yeah.
with teeth?
So come to my website, which is the holistictoothfairy.com. Very simple, holistictoothfairy.com. And I've got lots of articles on there about all these different aspects: the nutrition, the breathing and jaw relaxation, oral hygiene, and the metaphysical side of things, including a chart you can download to see the associations with different teeth, so you can understand the particular emotions that go with that. Yeah, and an ebook. I've got a free ebook that I wanted to offer to your listeners.
Go for
That's
it.
called Your Oral Hygiene, and it's a whole lot of tips for improving the way that you brush and floss, and making sure the products that you use and the techniques that you use are helping and not harming your oral health.
Beautiful.
So
I'll put that link in the description. So jump in there, click on, you get a free ebook, and all together we can take care of our teeth. And I love your Facebook page because you're very active in there. And as soon as someone asks questions, you're there to answer. And I love reading other people's answers, helping each other out. It's a beautiful little community you've got there.
it is a real community, and lots of those people have been working with me for a couple of years now, and so there's a lot of kind of collective wisdom that people share very generously in there. I love it. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I hope that everyone that's listening jumps on Facebook to find you, the Holistic Tooth Fairy, and to jump into the description there as well to get that ebook. Thank you, lovely, for joining me today on the podcast. And
Thank you.
do you have a saying? Does the Tooth Fairy end with anything?
You're the boss of your mouth.
Ooh, I like that. Oh my goodness, I can just see my daughter now saying, Mum, I'm the boss of my mouth. Wow, you better eat your greens.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, thank you so much. Bye.
Right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Yummy Mummy Podcast. Today you get a free ebook from the Holistic Tooth Fairy, Optimize Your Oral Hygiene. Here you'll get tips for making sure your oral hygiene supports teeth healing and doesn't undermine it. If you're listening on iTunes or Podbean or watching on YouTube, press the subscribe button to stay in the loop of all things delicious. Please rate and review with a comment. I'd love your feedback, thoughts, and insights. Stay delicious.